In the last step, we kickstarted the creation of Elastic Beanstalk environment. It took about 10 minutes, and at the end of it, I saw this screen pop up. You can see that the creation of the environment is successful. You can see that now the health of the environment is okay, and you can see that a sample application is running, and you can also see the platform details in here. You can see that the application that we are running is Python 3.8, running on 64-bit Apache Linux. And to be able to access the application, we can click the link which is in here. So if I click the link in there, it would take me to the running application. You can see that it says, congratulations, your first AWS Elastic Beanstalk Python application is now running on your dedicated environment in AWS Cloud. If you want to deploy a new version of this application, you can click upload and deploy your own Python web application in there. As you can see in here, Elastic Beanstalk makes it very, very, very easy to deploy web applications to AWS. You don't need to worry about EC2 instances. You don't need to worry about auto-scaling groups, or you don't need to worry about load balancing. Everything is taken care of for you by Elastic Beanstalk. That's why Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service offering. Now, before we go further and look at what is happening inside Elastic Beanstalk, let's take a step back and look at what's happening outside Elastic Beanstalk. Let's look at what are all the resources that are created by Elastic Beanstalk. If you type in EC2 and go to EC2 or the Elastic Compute Cloud, you'd see that there is one instance which is running. If you click in, you'd see that this instance is created by Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk has created an EC2 instance, installed Python on it, and deployed the application on it as well. How is this instance created? This instance is created as part of something called an auto-scaling group. If I minimize all these things and go to the end, you'd see that an auto-scaling group is also created. Earlier, when we were creating the Elastic Beanstalk environment, we said we would want minimum of one instance and a maximum of 2 instances. If I would want to create a number of EC2 instances, the way we can do that is by creating an auto-scaling group. This auto-scaling group is automatically created for us by Elastic Beanstalk. If you click this auto-scaling group, you'd be able to see that the desired capacity is 1, minimum capacity is 1, and maximum capacity is 2. These are the 2 values that we configured when we created the Elastic Beanstalk environment. In addition to these, Elastic Beanstalk also created a load balancer. If you go to load balancers, you can see that there is a load balancer which is created for us automatically by Elastic Beanstalk. You can see that Elastic Beanstalk is doing a lot of things for us. Let's go back to Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk, run and manage web apps. That's where we are heading towards. And this is the thing that we have created earlier. Let's go in there. Let's now look at more details regarding this specific environment. The home page shows a high-level information about the application which is deployed. You can see the version of the application which is deployed. You can see the health of it. You can see the platform we are making use of. And you can also see some of the recent events. You can see that an EC2 instance is added to the environment. You can see that the environment health has changed from pending to OK, and the environment is launched up. And at the end, you can see that the instance deployment is completed successfully. If you go to configuration, you can see all the details about software, instances, capacity, the load balancer, how you would want to do updates. You'd see details about security, monitoring, and managed updates. If you go to logs in here, so if you click logs in here, you'd be able to request for logs from the application. So I'll say request logs and last 100 lines. And this would create a log file. What I can do is I can go ahead and click download on it. And you can see all the logs related to the application that we have deployed in here. So if you want to look at logs in Elastic Beanstalk, you don't really need to go to the EC2 instance and check the logs. You can directly check the logs in the Elastic Beanstalk console itself. You can also get details about the health of the environment in here. You can see that the health is okay. If you want to look at metrics related to the environment, you can go to monitoring. You can see that right now there is one healthy host. And you can see that there are certain requests which came in. You can see the CPU utilization. You can see the network in, network out metrics as well. If you scroll down, you'll also be able to see a few graphs related to these metrics. If you go to managed updates, you can look at any managed updates that are scheduled for this environment. For example, if there is a security patch for Linux or security patch for Python, these updates can be automatically handled for you by Elastic Beanstalk. If you go to events, you can look at all the events which are happening with your Elastic Beanstalk environment. You can see the events related to the creation of the environment, and you can also see the events related to the actions that we have performed. A little earlier, we looked at the logs. So you can see that there is an event saying pulled logs for environment instances. If you go to tags, you can look at all the tags that are assigned to your Elastic Beanstalk environment. Now, whenever we talk about applications, you might have multiple environments. For the same application, you might have a dev environment, QA environment, staging environment, and a production environment. Elastic Beanstalk also allows you to create multiple environments for your application. How can you do that? I'll go to applications in here and pick up this specific application, my first Elastic Beanstalk application. You can click there and you can see that for this specific application, we have one environment. Let's say this is the dev environment. If you'd want, you can go ahead and create other environments as well. You can say I would want to create a new environment, and you can say I would want to create a QA environment, a staging environment, and a production environment. In addition, Elastic Beanstalk also keeps track of your application versions. So if you want, you can actually upload a new version of the application in here. And once you uploaded a new version of the application in here, you can go ahead and say, I'd want to deploy this to a specific environment. I would want to deploy this to a dev environment or a QA environment or a staging environment. So Elastic Beanstalk by default has the capabilities to manage different versions of your applications, and you'll be able to create multiple environments, and you'll be able to deploy a specific version to a specific environment. In this step, we played around with Elastic Beanstalk. We saw that Elastic Beanstalk makes it very, very easy to deploy web applications to AWS. You don't need to worry about EC2 instances. You don't need to worry about load balancing. You don't need to worry about autoscaling group. Almost all the things are automated for you. The best practice in the cloud is to keep the resources running for the minimum amount of time. So what I'll do now is to go to applications, pick up this specific application, and delete this application. So let's go ahead and say actions, delete application. I'll type in the name of the application in here as well. So my first Elastic Beanstalk application, let's go ahead and say delete. The deletion of the application will take a little while. What I would recommend you to do is to take a break, and I'll see you on the other side.